What's going on YouTube? Hayden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we will be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as waves to BTC. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications. We're doing a giveaway at 5,000 subscribers for some Crypto TV merch. If you guys want to view what that merch is, there is a link in the description. Otherwise, let's jump into today's episode. So we're going to be talking about a few things, basically how to make money in a down market, and pretty much like how to make $100 a day in a down market. It sounds simple enough, and to some it might sound difficult, but there is actually trading routines and things you could do to actually profit in a down market. So I definitely want to show you guys my indicators that I use on my graphs and some key, things to look for when you're trading in a down market, because it's still profitable. Otherwise, let's just get a general overview of the market before we jump in. This is probably the first thing I would recommend doing when you decide to try to make money each day by being a swing trader. So I'm on the coin market cap right now. This is definitely a tool I would highly recommend a lot of you guys to use if you want to get more in depth into cryptocurrency. So the first thing, it's called coinmarketcap.com, spelled exactly how it sounds. The first thing I'd recommend looking at is these three indicators. So you have the market cap, a 24-hour volume, and a Bitcoin dominance. This is to get our general view of things, so a more macroeconomic approach, and then we'll go into micro when we look at charts. So you look at the market cap right now, and you see we're currently trading at around 195 billion. Now, if you've been following cryptocurrency for a while, you'll know this is definitely very low from where we've been. Even last week, we were up to like 240 billion. So we're definitely seeing a massive spike downwards, which is something you want to take note of because that's going to impact other currencies. Now we look at the 24-hour volume, we see that this is quite low, and usually when we're around 10,000 as of right now in this market, it kind of signifies that we're in a consolidation standpoint. In regards, that means we're trading sideways for the most part. So without even looking at the charts or on the graphs, I'm going to say we're probably going to be trading sideways for a little bit on the 4-hour, maybe even the daily. Bitcoin dominance is at a high for relative to how long we've been watching, at around 55.9%. And I've actually seen this literally as low as like 30% before. So when I see this going up, that means that altcoins are being affected more than Bitcoin, which tells you that Bitcoin is a more stable blue chip cryptocurrency rather than the altcoins, which seem to swing a lot in price. So after you look and get a general view of these three things, you want to then scroll down and look at the top 10 coins. So when you look at the top 10 coins, why I do this is mainly to get a general opinion on how the total market is doing. These are the top 10 because they have the biggest market cap total in the market. Bitcoin has a $109 billion market cap and is 55.9% of the market. So it's more than half of the money in the market is in Bitcoin. Now, one thing to look at is the change in 24-hour price or percentage in the price. So this tells you how much it's moved in the past 24 hours. So you can see we seem to all be in red, so that's a good indicator that majority of the market is being impacted negatively and we're seeing a more bearish trend. Now, one thing to pay attention to is if you look, Bitcoin's only down by 0.66, 1.5 for Ethereum, Litecoin is 2.8, so we're really not down by much, which signifies another consolidation point. Another thing to pay attention to is when you see like double digits that were really, down a decent amount, you're going to see the whole market like very, very, very much so down. The top 10 coins might be down 10%. The majority of the market may be down 20, 30%, some coins. So that's something to pay attention to. So we're just going to scroll down. You can see that the majority of the market, besides some, Bitcoin Diamond up 14%, Waves up 21%, we're going to be talking about that, isn't really doing much. Everything's up 1, 2, 3, 4%. And then there's some outliers, those 1%, that we're not really going to talk about. But another thing to pay attention to. So now we understand that the majority of the market is in a consolidation point. So that's something we want to look at. Next thing you want to look at is obviously the price. Bitcoin is at 6,300. I'm definitely going to do some technical analysis for today for my old subscribers, and then we'll do for some new people watching the how to make money when we trade. So we looked at these coins, pretty interesting. Now we're going to jump onto Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, those graphs, and then waves. Also, Litecoin is at 53.98, 54, and then Ethereum's at 195. So I want to look at Bitcoin first, seeming to be the big one. So there's a lot of indicators right now on the screen, a lot of lines, and I want to explain what those mean and how you could potentially make money on that. Also, another key thing to point out on CoinMarketCap, if you click and change in 24-hour, it'll bring you the top trading coins right here. So you can see how Doge is up 18%. Doge is doing very, 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 very well in the past couple of days. Bitcoin Diamond up 14, Waves is up 21, Dropple is up 20%. You can see these are the top percentages changed in the market. And then if you click it again, you'll see the ones that are down the most. Cardano is down the most. So that tells you the market as a whole is only down by 6%. Like that is the lowest dipping coin in the market. Everything else is up negative 6%. So nothing is below that. So that's another thing to pay attention to. I'm just going to bring us back to the CoinMarketCap. Now, going back into Bitcoin. So obviously we can see we've been hit pretty hard by Bitcoin. Now, there's a few things on here. This is considered the relative strength index or the relative stochastic indicator. It really depends on which one you're going to use, but basically you would click indicators right here and then you would search. So if you typed in like relative strength indicator, this would pop up, relative strength index, that would pop up right there. Now, another thing to note is these websites where you see this graph is on tradingview.com. That's what I'm using. So that's what I would recommend you guys use in terms of trying to graph your charts. That's what I prefer. So this is one key tool to use. And then obviously these two lines, these are the 35 and 100-day middle moving averages. You can see right here, this is the indicator, the middle high-low moving average, the 35 and the 100-day moving average. And you can see how these lines are affected. When you see the green band cross over the red band, it's an indicator that we're going lower. It's a bearish move. When you see the green band go over the red band, that's a bullish indicator that we're moving up. Now, something to pay attention to is being oversold versus overbought. So you can see these lines right here. This is a 70. This is a 30. So if we're anything below 30 points on the RSI, it's an indicator that we're oversold and we need to move back up. We sold off too quickly. People sold off too quickly. And then if we are overbought and we're above 70, that means too many people bought and we should be heading down for a slight correction. Now, you can use these indicators basically to judge like kind of where the market may be heading to if there's a slight pullback upwards. Now, one thing I want to mention, guys, is when you look at it on a 4-hour, that is a very, very, very short window. If you look at things from a close-up projection, you're only going to really make money off these short term, if you're really trading within a couple of hours. But if you're going to trade over the day, 24 hours, you'd probably want to look more so at a daily candle. Reason being is when you look at a daily candle, you can kind of get a feel for these lines. Lines are a lot more hard, they're a lot more firm, and they're a lot more sound in regards to what is support, what is resistance, whether we're overbought and oversold. So for example, to show you guys what I'm talking about, you can see how just recently we were overbought over here. So we were above 70, which is a good indicator that we need to correct back down to a more neutral support. So allowing that to happen, we would obviously retrace, and you can see what followed right after that. We retraced right back down to here. And now you can see we're teeter-tottering on being oversold. And obviously right after being oversold, we made a move back upwards. You can see in the past here, we were oversold right here. We moved right back up. Then we came back down to being oversold. We moved back up. So obviously you can't be greedy when you do this, but a very good thing to do is if you bought at levels down here, and obviously it's hard to judge how high we're going to go. You can see how we were oversold here and we went all the way up to overbought. But if you scaled your investment and you literally maybe put it at a 36, that's the next time you said you'll sell off. So if you bought at 27, sold at 36, you could make a decent profit. You would buy it at 62.75 and sell it at 67.60. And if you bought a full Litecoin, you would make $500. A full Bitcoin, you'd make like $500 cash in that day. And now think about that. We're talking about $100 a day. So you could make that much money within the day in terms of how the price rose, depending on how low you bought on the relative strength index. So it's just some key things to pay attention to. So you guys can see how we kind of started to use this green band as resistance. It was a point of congestion and we could not break bullish from it. We were trading sideways for quite some time. You can see how that was impacted here. And then you would notice that on the CoinMarketCap where the percentages would be pretty much below or above 1% and not by much. Now, you want to take all of this into consideration when you're making an investment. And I always say this red band and the green band are very, very, very strong resistances when you're looking at things from a daily and especially a weekly. So it was very called for to see this break bearish, because you could also see how high we were going on the RSI. And then to note that this massive resistance line is also going to be in play. It was a lot leaning towards us breaking bearish from it more than breaking up. Now, obviously, that can still not turn out how it was planned. If a lot of media and influence gets around, it could definitely shoot the price up way, way, way into overbought territory. So one thing I wanted to point out to you guys was I did notice on Bitcoin that we are seeing some sort of uptrend right here. From this point, you can see we have contact here. We have another point of contact here. And you can see there's a small downtrend forming right now. So it may not hold. It's probably not. We could break bullish from that using this line of support here. So we could potentially see more or less a $6,500 Bitcoin within a couple of days, if not today. But you guys can see as I zoom in a little bit further what I'm talking about in terms of this downtrend right here. Started here, and you can just see where these prices have been. And then if you look at it on the 4-hour, you'll see a little more sound what I'm talking about right here. So this is a very small downtrend that's forming right here. So just pay attention to that. Moving on to Litecoin, and pretty much just you want to keep relaying these tools to kind of better yourself and make money throughout the day. Now, you obviously don't need a lot of money to make a big profit, and a lot of people think you do, but there's a lot of coins that are very, very, very small and have a very low market cap, which you can make money off of and you can profit from. There are some very, very, very small tokens only worth about $1, and if you catch the break upwards, you could flip your investment $50 and it goes up 100%. You just made $100, you doubled your investment. If it goes to 200, you made like 150. So you could definitely profit off of this. And then you could obviously take that money and take it out and spend it on whatever, or you can keep reinvesting it and watch it grow. Obviously, you need a lot of time and a lot of patience, but it's definitely possible to catch those waves. So one thing also to note is that Litecoin, Bitcoin, and sometimes Ethereum, but Litecoin and Bitcoin especially seem to follow each other. And you can kind of notice that when we look at the coin market cap. You can see how their price graph has practically been the same. All of these coins, Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Stellar, and Litecoin, they all have the same pattern. So what happens in one will happen in the other most likely. But another thing, so going off of that, you can see we had this downtrend right here. You can also see how that's relaying onto Litecoin too. There's also a downtrend. So unfortunately, we may see a $50 support being tested on Litecoin. It's very possible we may go down there and retest $50. I'm not saying we won't. Obviously, there's also, now that I'm noticing, a small downtrend on its RSI. So I'm going to just graph that in really quick. You can see right here how there is a small downtrend. Let me just go back. Right there. And one thing that I've noticed within these graphs is on descending triangles, we tend to break bullish, and ascending triangles tend to break bearish. So this is considered a descending one, and then an ascending triangle would be opposite, going upwards and trying to break a resistance. This is trying to break a line of resistance. This would be so this is a horizontal line of resistance. This would be like a vertical line of resistance. So it kind of give or take how you look at it. But otherwise, you can see we're following a downtrend. So a good investment opportunity would be checking out what the price looks like when we're down here. Now, obviously, if we slowly travel back down to here, we may end up being oversold on the 4-hour. But you obviously, like I said, you want to take that with a grain of salt and pay more attention to Litecoin on the daily and the weekly and kind of see how this plays out. We're only at around, I'd say, 38 on the RSI, so there is still plenty of potential to keep going. But almost always, if you buy very low and in that oversold region, you will make profit at some point on the move back up, no matter what. You can see right here, we were oversold, even over here oversold, and then we moved back up and the price was much higher. So things to look out for, and definitely use these as a means to make money. In a more long-term sense, every time we tend to break bearish from or we trade below this high-low MMA, we tend to move back up towards it. Or if we're above it, we move back down towards it. So it usually always happens. This is on a more long-term scale, but you can see we dipped far away. We came back to retest. We went too far up. We came back to retest. It always happens. And the fact that we have not yet retested it on the daily is more concerning to me, that we're going to hit it very, very, very soon. Or it just means I'm more aware of that possible progression. So that's something to pay attention to. The $50 on Litecoin could and most likely will be tested, and the 6,200 level for Bitcoin will most definitely be tested too. But Ethereum seems to be in free fall. So like I said, looking at the daily, the fact that we are oversold is a good indicator. So potentially, if I was to tell myself where I would invest, what coin to look out for, seeing Ethereum being oversold on the daily is a good indicator that I might buy some. Also, on Ethereum's weekly scale, you can see how oversold it is. It's literally right about to enter that, which is a good indicator. You can see right here, last time we were oversold was at 55 cents. It has not been down at this level in quite some time. And then it shot all the way up. Even if you bought down here 55 cents and sold at $55, you would have been a millionaire or had a lot of money. So it's something to pay attention to. The fact that we're going to see an oversold Litecoin, Ethereum on a weekly scale means you could profit quite a bit. So I'm definitely paying attention to Ethereum, because when this starts to move back upwards, it may break very, 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 very high records, and we may just see a massive pop off of this descending triangle. So Ethereum is definitely on my radar. Now, I brought up waves in regards to, even in a bearish market, there are still potential investments. You know, if you bought into waves, you would have been up 20% today, and you can see it went right back up to retest its high-low MMA. You can also see how Bitcoin did the same thing. So I want to bring this to the daily, and you guys will notice that we shot up. Look at this. So Bitcoin shot up, faced resistance at the daily, high-low MMA, broke bearish. You can see how on the daily for waves, it shot up and then broke bearish. So it happens in both cases, but it's still up 20%, and it was up much higher, probably like 40%. And obviously, it's very hard to catch these massive movements, but one thing to note is on the daily, you can see how back here we were oversold. And if you bought at a low of this area and you just held on, you could have rode it up. Even if you sold out here, even if you sold out here or here, you would have been up money. Even if you sold out here, you would have been up money. Now, it's hard to say that it would have broke like that. These are very hard to catch, but if we just draw on some lines, we may get a better understanding of why it did that. No one knows for sure. TA can only do so much. But you can also see there was a slight downtrend right here. Doesn't really relay over, which is interesting. So it's tough. You guys can clearly see the support though. This is a massive support right here. And it was just teeter-tottering on this for quite some time and then broke bullish. So that's another thing I want to point out in crypto is when we trade sideways for quite some time, you can see how in the past we've had a lot of bearish momentum, then bullish momentum, then bearish, but then it just traded sideways and the price just stayed the same. It's a very good indicator that we're going to move in either or direction, and you can see how we were kind of at a neutral standpoint on the daily RSI, so it gave us kind of a hit or miss as to where we would go. But if you started to see that we broke the previous high, so if you noticed, if you drew another line here, you would see that we were in a channel, and this is something to look for. You can see how it's within a channel. So my buying opportunity would have been to watch the price, and if we broke the previous candle here, it's an indicator that we're going to go up much higher. So obviously you want to have a coin on your radar and just watch for it, or have a couple coins on your radar and pick up on these things. So you can see this channel, it was trading in between, and then it broke bullish. Obviously I would sell. I personally would have sold as soon as it hit the green. I wouldn't have known it would have went this high, but even if you did, this would have been a massive jump from 0.0003 and you sold at 0.0039, you would have been up quite a bit of money in Bitcoin. So you got to watch for these things. You want to look at Litecoin and Bitcoin and watch how that could potentially relate. We were looking at waves on the daily. You can see how Litecoin on the weekly, Litecoin on the daily has pretty much just been moving up and down, so there has not been much consolidation. So it's definitely, you got to watch out for things, you know, you got to be paying attention. I truly just think Litecoin is going to continue to head down till it faces the $50 support, and then we could potentially pop up right back up to the $55 support or resistance right now, and then maybe retest its high-low MMA shortly after. But otherwise, that's going to sum up the video for today, guys. Hopefully that will help you guys get better involved in cryptocurrency. And hopefully that will help you make, you know, $100, $200, $300, $400, $500. The sky is the limit a day. And giveaway at 5K. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.